Hey guys, welcome. Before we start the podcast, I just have something I want to discuss with Destiny. I received something in the mail, and not once did I read it until I was on the phone with my mother and I was staring at it. It was on my refrigerator, and it is a Happy New Year and best wishes from Destiny. P.S. Yes, it's still just me. If you're concerned, feel free to hang this card so any eligible men who enter your home can see it. I didn't read that for months. That has been sitting on my refrigerator for months. My husband also didn't read it because he never saw it. I laughed so hard. So if you're wondering where this is going, it's I'm sending it to my mother so she can put it in her office. And she said she would show it to eligible men that come in to buy a home.
That last part though, yes.
Yes.
Send that to your mom. So because
Yes,
I had
I
extras and I threw them away because I was trying to throw away extra things. That's hilarious. Yeah. I did send a New Year's card. I was like, what did you get in the mail? I was so nervous. But no, all the eligible men. No,
yeah.
that's real. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't tell you how hard I laughed because my mom was like, "What are you laughing at?" And I pulled it off the fridge and then read it to her. And she was cackling so hard because she was like, "Of course, Destiny sent that out." Also, she was upset you didn't send her one. So,
Okay, listen. I'm
yeah,
sorry. I am
she has a
sorry.
bone to pick with you.
Well, I have a digital version. I'll print some whole. I'll go back to the Walgreens and print some more out for her.
No worries. I'll just send it to her when I send her her birthday present stuff.
Okay, that'd be great.
Mhm.
But she's on my New Year's list for next year, for certain now.
Perfect, perfect.
Yeah.
Hopefully there'll be an extra person. I lied.
Yeah,
Just one
yeah.
extra
Hopefully
one.
that goes away. Which is kind of funny because
You
I
been
was just,
dating?
huh?
Did you go
What'd you
on a
say?
date? Did you date?
No, 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 no. That's
Oh,
um.
my bad.
So that's funny because this leads into like a meet cute because I was just on social before I got on with you and I
Mm.
was looking at this meet cute. All I was to say is I was somewhere and it could have potentially been a meet cute, but
Oh,
Charmingly Awkward is our podcast name for a reason. And in the midst of me being like not expecting to run into someone that I found attractive where I was at,
oh,
like it just wasn't the
yeah.
environment. I did that whole and I said, you know what? There's no coming back from this. So I just like friend zoned myself. I was like, bruh, like here we are. And it was just the funniest thing in the world because I was like, at this big age, I should know that meet cutes do happen, right? But like I just wasn't
Yeah,
prepared mentally. And
that's
when the
fair.
and when the person turned around, I was like, oh, I wasn't ready. Oh, but that's funny that you did that. But I mean, it probably could have turned into a day. But I was like, I'm just gonna friend zone myself from this one because there's no coming back from the shenanigans that just happened in this situation. But yeah,
That's fair. Yeah, I have been waiting to talk to you about this because I knew we would record.
that's fantastic. I mean, hey, listen, it's a cute
Yeah,
picture too.
it is. It is. Look, you wrote me a cute note on the back, and that was the only thing I read.
I appreciate it. Like, thank you for reading the note. But
Yeah.
yeah, so that's funny because you have that, and I think I sent out maybe 9 or 10 of those. And I sent it to some of my single friends, and they all were like, yo, this is so great. I was like, yes, because nonetheless, yesterday I just ran into someone I had not seen in maybe 13, 14 years. And the
Oh
first question
wow.
was like, oh my God, are you married? Do you have kids? I was like, bruh, how about how's my health? Can I pay my bills? Am I thriving in this economy? Like, can we ask other questions? And I was like, nah, you know me. Let's not act like I'm not the same person you knew 13 years ago. I was very ambitious. Like, we got to balance out life here. And it was just really funny. And so they're like, oh, yeah, 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 yeah. And I was like, yeah, think about who you're talking to. So all I have to say is, I have officially hit that time in my life that I'm like, okay, I've done all the things I wanted to do in my career. It is now a new phase, marriage. Yay! So here we are, new phase in life. It's actually really interesting to say that. And I feel like it kind of leads into our topic for today.
Hey y'all, if you're listening to the sound of our voices, that means that you have found your way to the Charmingly Awkward podcast. Stay tuned for some organized chaos.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it does. It does. Quarter life crisis. I feel like it's not really a quarter. We surpassed the quarter.
We passed a quarter, but the part of figuring it out,
Yeah.
or not figuring it out, you know?
I mean, I only feel like I just have now started to figure out my life and career. And let me tell you, that always wasn't the case. When I turned 25, which was 5 years ago, I ran away to Disney World and drank around the world with my mother because I was like, I haven't gotten to where I thought I should be at 25, and it hit me hard. And I feel like 30 didn't hit me hard, but I also had just like accepted a manager role, and I got married right before I turned to 30. And I was doing all the things that like I felt like would have been happening by the time I was 30. So 30 was like, oh yeah, this is life. Like,
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I love being in my 30s. Like,
yeah.
I know people talk about being in your 20s is a time to be alive, but you can, no, absolutely not. Like, I feel like there's something about being in this era of my life of I just am so much more confident with myself.
Yeah.
I'm so much more willing to admit when I'm wrong, when I don't know something. Even though I'm humble, like I also am like, I'm on my ish. Like, no, I got this. You know what I mean? And I know I wasn't like that in my early 20s. Like I was very much like, oh, I don't know. Now I'm like, no, I know. I literally was in a meeting with somebody. I was like, in the most homo way, I know what I'm talking about. Like
I know I'm right.
I know I'm right. Like, chill out. Like, this is my subject matter expertise. Like, you know, and I'm telling you, in my 20s, I wouldn't have done that. So, I mean, and of course, there's are other pressures that happen, right? Like I just told you, marriage, children. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, well, that wasn't on my bingo card. Like it was on everybody else's bingo card to be 21, married, have kids, right? But like at the end of the day, I'm okay. Like, and not like I'm okay, but like I really am very proud of where I am right now in life. But I'm not gonna be silly and say like there's not pressures, right? And so like let's really dive into what are like these pressures in life and like figuring out and like trying to have it all together at a certain age. And like how's that impacting?
What do you feel like having it together means? Because I feel like that means different things for everybody. I felt like I had it together when I graduated grad school and I had moved across the country, so I was self-sufficient and I had like accepted my first real true marketing job, and I was like, wow, I like truly have it together. I didn't, but I felt like I had it together.
Yeah. I think that that's true. Like everyone having it together is very just our own opinions. And that's a great question. For me, having it together is truly being happy, like genuinely happy. And what I mean by that is because you can be self-sufficient and be doing things in your life that you absolutely hate, right?
Agreed.
And actually, one of the women who are pouring into me in life right now, she asked me a question. She was like, okay, is this a blessing or a burden for you? And I literally was like,
that hit
I
me
wasn't
like,
ready. Let me buckle up. I wasn't ready for that. And so like to me, that's having it together is when like, yeah, you're going to be doing things that you don't always enjoy, but is your life, what's in your life making you happy, and is it a blessing?
Yeah.
Because if it's not, then you don't have it together. And so I'm going to be honest, I don't have it together because everything that I'm doing in life right now is not a blessing for me. Like a lot of it, well, not a lot of it, some of it's a burden, but a lot of it comes because I don't set boundaries on all things.
Right.
And so if that's the case, I don't have it all together, and I'm still figuring that part out, right? Because at a time I thought I had it together because being self-sufficient and this and this and this was what I thought it was. But when I look at it through the lens of, is my life a blessing or a burden for me and what's happening in there? I'm like, yeah, girl, I'm gonna have to take a step back, buckle up, reevaluate. So yeah, honestly, and I think that's a lot of pressure to figure that out by a certain age. It truly is.
Truly. And like, is anybody supposed to have anything together by a certain age? Because our parents, I felt like if you looked at it by societal standards, they were way far ahead of us in having it together, because like by my age, my mom and dad had both of us. They owned a home, and they quote unquote had it together. And like I don't own a home. I just got married, and we don't have any kids.
And I think it's interesting, right? Like you said that, because we look at what's happened in years past as like our guidance, which like I believe in history, you should definitely use that as a guide, right? But if we're looking at our families, they were taught to really, I mean, and some people are still taught this, but oh, you turn 18, you get married, you have kids, you start a family. Whereas like for us, our parents taught us to go out, travel the world, experience the world. Mine particularly told me not to have kids. They was not that my parents don't love us, but they was like, yo, when you have kids, you have to consider so many other things. And like I stated before, I'm selfless enough to know that I am a selfish person, and I love to sleep. I love to do what I want to do when I want to do it. The way I'll get up and go on a trip, and you can't do that with children, right? And so that is a lot of pressure when people are like, well, you're supposed to be doing X, Y, and Z. And it's like, okay, but I'm not ready for that. Like,
right.
I don't know, but I feel like those pressures also lead people into now being at this age in their 30s and they're unhappy because they never got to experience anything because they were trying to figure out and live in the societal pressures of what they should have been doing.
Shoot, my mom told me not to get married.
Yeah.
She was like, why? Like, I mean, not to never get married, but especially in my 20s, she was like, what's the point? She was like, figure it out. You know, we went to college and then grad school because God forbid you and I just stop at 1 degree.
Yeah.
And and then you know, I've moved several times and it's just like, just figure it out, and once you figure it out, it'll start falling together, which I always thought was ridiculous, but she was right, as always.
What you said, what you said is so key. Your mom said, it all starts falling into place, and that is so valid. Like, and you mentioned it, I think, in our love podcast about like after you did your journey or whatever, you woke up and was like, okay, I'm ready to be a wife. I'm ready to do this. You know what I mean? And that's so true. Like one day you just wake up and say, okay, I'm ready to do the next step, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little scary because you're like, oh, whatever that next step is for you when it hits you and it falls into place, now you have to learn how to move forward with this new expectation that you're setting for yourself, right?
For sure. Yeah.
And no one can tell you how to do it but you, because no one else is living your life or has lived the life that you lived, right? Like even if you had a twin who grew up in the same house and living in the same place as you right now, you're still doing things differently.
Yeah, you think about things differently. You look at the world differently. And I mean, even like your parents are different to each child. That doesn't mean they have a favorite. They just parent everybody differently because everybody is inevitably different. And I forgot what study it was, but I was like looking at one time and I was talking about like twins who were raised in like a normal household and like everything was normal in their life, like nothing tragic happened, but they still ended up very different people even though they were raised exactly the same.
Yeah. And again, it's just so much different. And I think it's interesting that we grow up and we put on this fake facade, like a facade about this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to have it all together by the time I'm 30. Like, no, go through that quarter life crisis, sis. Like, listen, whoever told you at 18 you were supposed to figure out life is crazy silly. There is no way that you know at 18 what you want to do. And if you do, shout out for you. I'm a kudos you all around. But at this big age, I'm still like, yo, it is never too late to change your career, your mindset, you know, like figure that crap out. Because the pressures, no one's going to live your life but you. And everyone from the outside is like, oh, I have it together. They probably don't. Start asking people that question. That's what I'm going to start asking people. Is it a blessing or a burden? Is your life a blessing or a burden?
Honestly, I really love that because like when I think about things, I'm like, is that like a blessing in my life or is that ultimately going to be a burden? And that's such a great clarifying way to look at something. And I'm just like, wow, like that's being so honest with yourself in a way that like just hit me hard when you said it.
Yeah, because you can't lie.
No, because you really know. Yeah, like regardless if you want to admit to it or not, you know.
Yeah. And it wasn't, does it make you happy? Because there's things that are burdens can make you happy, right? Like prime example, if you've ever been in a situation with a friend or a relationship that you're not supposed to be in, it can make you happy, but it could also be a burden. You know what I mean? So I like the way that she phrased that. It was like, is it a blessing or a burden? So I'm like, yeah. So just that's my thought about figuring out or not figuring it out in your 30s. You know, I think that's what your 30s are meant for. I think people are like, 30s are the new 20s. And please don't let it be the new 20s because I'm not trying to go through the decade again. But
let me tell you, me either. Josh was like, don't you want to go out and like drink and have a good time? I'm like, no, honey, I did that in my 20s. I'm really good. I'm partied out like that. Like I like a good glass of wine and a TV show.
Yeah. Love a good R&B night. Don't get me wrong, in a lounge bar.
But lounge bar, not like going to the club and dancing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a time to be alive. Yeah. You know, again, appreciate my 20s. That's how I became who I am. Learned so much.
That's how we met.
That's how we met. You know, I've a lot of life left, right?
Oh,
so no shade for those. But your 30s is it, y'all. Like whoever's scared, and I know a lot of people are like about to hit that 30 mark, dive into that wholeheartedly because I just think that there's just something beautiful about turning 30. And for me, I always look at older people like my grandma and I'm always like, I can't wait to get that age and I don't care what anyone thinks. And I'm like, who said I can't start that in my 30s?
I was to say, I don't care what people think now.
Like, let's go. Build yourself up, get your confidence, be humble, and be honest with yourself. So some people still need work. Okay.
Mhm.
So let me this moment ain't for everybody. If you still gotta work on yourself, please heal. We love a healed person. Please do the journey. But if you're healed and you're just still trying to just figure out next steps in life, come into your 30s ready to conquer it. Be a wrecking ball. Do what
I
you
mean, honestly, like I feel like I am doing 1,000 things, but I feel like 30 is gonna be pretty awesome. Like at the end of the year, like we'll talk because like my birthday's at the end of the year and be like, all right, what was 30 like? And I can be like, well, I got all of these things done because I like set like specific goals for year 30. And I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna get that done.
Yeah.
I will put a schedule in place, sacrifice my time and get it done because I think it's worth it. I, like many other 30-year-olds, have decided that running a marathon is a good idea. I don't know why that's a thing, but that was me. It's fine. It's fine. At the end of the year, I will have ran a marathon and probably never again, but it happens.
That is very true. I have noticed that. Yes. Every time someone turns 30, all of a sudden it's like want to do a marathon. Maybe it's because we think our knees are not going to go like last much longer. I don't know.
That's fair. I mean, in my defense, I have really healthy knees because I have gone to the doctor and like double checked that because I used to be a runner and I worked out a ton. So there was that one point in time in my life where I had to get them looked at and they were like, no, your knees are healthy. And I was like, whew, that's good to know.
Oh, so as we're talking about 30s, right? So much happens. Even though like you're just now on the brink of turning 30, right? So like I understand that, but I know that we both had our own like career shifts, our relationships, our unexpected life changes. What's like one thing that just comes top of your mind that you're like, oh, this was definitely a figuring it out moment?
Moving to Utah,
Yeah.
because I applied for that job on a whim. I like my boyfriend at the time and I had just broken up. I was literally sitting in my mom's office and I was like, I'm gonna apply for this job. It's in Utah. And she goes, don't unless you actually want to move because you'll probably get it. And what did I do? I got it. And what did I do? Moved across the country.
But did you figure it out?
Yeah, it was just me and my dog and a packed car and my mother. My mother did drive with me. She won't let me forget that. Neither will my dad because we did that in 2 days. I mean, you and I still beat that record because we did ours in a day.
It's okay. We're not comparing. That's
fine. That's fine.
Different times, different ages, you know?
Yeah. And there was a dog in the car.
Yeah.
It's fine. But yeah, I got there, knew nobody. I had never really been to Utah except for once for 24 hours so mom and I could find me an apartment. And it was really a figure it out moment because I had to not only like make friends, I was starting this new job. It was a new career shift too because I had just gotten out of grad school. I had been working for my mom and it was such a different environment and I couldn't do anything but dive in and figure it out.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. That's actually really cool to know. Like, I don't know, and it worked out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it worked out. It is what it is. And now look at you.
I know. Yeah. Look at me. I became important at work.
So important. Again, I prefaced this before. Be careful before you start girl bossing because when you become important, you have responsibilities.
There's no turning back from that either.
There's not.
Like once they've deemed you as important, you're like, oh, I actually have to put in a pretty decent amount of effort.
Yeah.
At work.
Yeah.
It's fine. I love my job and I love what I do. But still, sometimes I'm like, I really accidentally did become important, and it was an accident because I didn't do that on purpose.
Yeah. Figuring out. This is another figuring out moment in life right now, figuring it out. That should just be it. Maybe we'll change the podcast name to Figuring Out. We're just figuring it out as we go day by day.
Oh gosh, yes. Honestly, we'd have to produce a lot more of these. We don't have time for that.
No, we don't. All right. So before we head out, for anyone who's figuring it out or not, what is something you would tell them?
Wait, go back. You didn't tell me what your life moment was.
Girl, because I got too many of them.
But I did too. I just picked one.
Honestly, I think a lot of mine's come to my figuring out moment, all blended together. So like career, relationships, and unexpected life changes, right?
Okay.
And for me, as a person who's always been very ambitious, that's what leads into impacting my relationships and be like, well, we just gonna have to figure this one out. I don't do ultimatums well, there's just things that just has never worked out for me. A little wild spirited person, So I think those are my figuring out moments of okay, I might be doing A particularly when I went back to get my master's degree is a very good example of like, I was working a full-time job and I was going through to school part-time. And then I was like, what if I did this full-time? I'm kind of tired of just doing this part-time. And on a whim, I also applied to go to school. I applied for a job that got me into school full-time to help pay for that. And that was a figuring out moment. I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I was just like, all right, let's go with it. And so I did it and everything's worked out. And it's kind of led me to where I am now. So I'm never going to complain about that, because when I was graduating from grad school, I didn't know what I was going to do. And it led me into a job that I also applied on a whim. And I figured that out. And so it's just really opened a lot of doors. So I honestly think that might be why I really love this topic, because all my greatest things has required me to have faith in God and just take it along the way and figure it out. It's never been moments where I could see like 5 years ahead and make a 5-year plan, because those are my 5 years plan, that it's ever really worked out. But like when I just see the next step, when it really forces me to have faith and like wait to figure it out, those are like my high level stories. And like, I don't know, I know that that's helped make me who I am today. And again, I told you that really has impacted like some relationships and things like that, but I would never change it for the world. Particularly because I am so happy. Like, a lot of my life is a blessing, right?
Yeah.
And the things that are burdens are things that I just don't have boundaries about. And I'm like, I should probably
But
not.
you're working on that. I will give you some credit. So you're working on that.
I am.
Yeah, you are.
Mm-hmm. And so that's what I'm saying. So like, I'm like, okay, yeah, we're going to have it all together by the end of this year when it comes to that blessings and burden part, you know? So yeah, that's my figuring it out moment. That come top to mind. Not really specific, besides just career shifts seem to always be my figuring out moments.
I mean, but sometimes those are always like for the positive. Like not everybody needs to know like what's going on. Like,
no,
nobody does. No. We all just winging it over here.
Exactly. If anyone tells you they have it figured out, I want to know what they're doing to already have it figured out. And if you're just following somebody else's plan who's already laid it out in front of you on a red carpet, that's not figuring out, that's following along. And so there's a difference, you know? It's like someone's already done the puzzle for you and says, oh, just put the last piece in. Well, you didn't make the puzzle.
Right. Like, but you're taking credit for it. And like, there's no way you can feel good about that.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just like people to add a little razzle dazzle to their life, mix it up, see if they're really fulfilled.
Look, I'm always adding a little razzle dazzle to my life.
You truly are, but you do a little bit too much razzle dazzle. You're the kind of person, I said this before, you're the kind of person who's gonna like, oh, I'm gonna get a new dog and have a baby and buy a new car and buy a new house. Oh, and as we buy this new house, we're gonna buy a fixer upper. Like, yo, chill out. Just do one thing at a time.
I can't help it. And it's not like I do it on purpose. It's just like they all end up falling together. And then I'm like, well, crap.
Girl, so you like it. I love it. I'm not even going to ask you to make it make sense to me, because I'm going to be here to support you. You know, I'm going to be a delusional friend and say, yeah.
Look, my mom always goes, really, Elizabeth? You had to do it all at once. I can't tell you how many times has said that to me. I mean, the last time she said it to me was right when I was getting married, because I was getting married, moving across the country and starting a new job. And she was like, really, Elizabeth? You got to do it all at once.
It really is like you feel like you have to. Like, I feel like you do this thing of like, it's a phase. It has to all be done in this one phase. We can't slow it out and do step by step.
Right at the same time.
Yes. I'm like, okay, well, we're not running a marathon here, apparently. We're just sprinting to the end of the finish line right now. Got it.
Always a sprint. It is no slowing down, always a sprint. If something leaves my life, I have to replace it with something else.
That's probably a story for another day.
Ooh, you're right. Yeah. That's probably a different deep dive. We'll talk about that later. I'll pretend
that might be an awful podcast conversation. That might be me really sitting down and using all my skills to have that conversation with you. Yeah.
I'm good.
You don't want that? Okay. Yeah. It does get a little uncomfy, huh? Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was just pretending like I didn't say it.
I truly, before we wrap this up, this goes into just a side note, y'all love us, is that I had this conversation with one of my guy friends and we were talking in a kitchen and like I started asking deep questions and he was like, what? Like he was just thrown off because I was making him think. I was like, nah, you knew better than to come to me. Mm-hmm. And thought I was just going to just let this slide by. Like, this is a conversation we really need to think about.
Look, I know if I go to you and ask you a very specific question, I'm asking for a very specific reason. And it's because I know you'll deep dive with me and you'll pull out the right answer that I know is in there. I just need somebody to ask me the right questions. I didn't go to with you on that. I just said it out loud.
Okay, well, I'm going to let that slide. We'll let it go. But if you ever choose to bring it back up, I'll be prepared.
Okay.
With that in mind, give the people some advice on if they're trying to figure out their 30s or if life in general. Honestly, you can be 50 and hear this.
My advice is just say yes and try, because nothing like bad has, I mean, in a sense of like, you know, that like you wouldn't usually put yourself out there and do that, well, maybe you should be. Maybe you should be putting yourself out there to that, because what's trying? Like, you can at least say, oh, well, I tried. And I tell my husband all the time, and even this goes with like applying for jobs, just try, because you never know what's actually going to accept you and give you that chance if you don't say yes or don't try. My mom always says the worst thing somebody can tell you is no.
Mm-hmm.
And I have taken that to heart. And let me tell you, I ask every time all the questions. I'm like, can I have this? Can I do this? What about this? Like, and I will just ask until somebody tells me no. And I'm like, okay. Like, I don't take it personally. I will ask until they're like, all right, that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's the harm?
Yeah, no, I
Mhm.
love that. That's good. That kind of, I was going to say confidence, but since you said that, I think mine is don't take yourself too seriously.
Oh, yeah, no.
I think that we feel like we have to have it all figured out all the time. And like, who said you're that important? Like, let's be honest. Unless you're doing like life, you can have a life altering decision and that's okay, right? But like, it might be but you're not doing like a life or death decision. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, oh, should I take this job or not? Okay, that's life altering, but is it going to like ruin your life, right? Like, okay, a road may be a little bit more gold, but I mean, if the road is yellow, it worked in The Wiz and The Wizard of Oz, you know what I mean? Like, you'll be fine. And so just I really tell people stop taking yourself so serious because
Oh,
when you
yeah.
stop doing that, you stop worrying about what other people think. You come into the room fully confident in your abilities and yourself, and you just have hey, I'm here to have a good time and enjoy this moment. And it really just shows up for you and like your entire aura changes. So yeah, that's it.
I totally
Don't be afraid
agree.
to say yes.
Yeah.
And don't take yourself too seriously. Sounds good to
Love
me.
it.
They should honestly pay us for this advice.
I mean, really, I agree. I will take $5. Thank you.
Listen, that's a good $5. You could probably buy a fry with that.
Look, that's what I'm thinking. A good drink, a
Yeah.
solid shake. Mhm.
I like where your head's at. All right.
Thank you.
Well, on that note, should probably wrap this one up.
All right, guys. This is Charmingly Awkward, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.